Yeah. Season finale, baby. Season 2. Let's get it. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome to the Fandom Frequency, man, where we get into the entire multiverse of pop culture, whether that's comic book movies, whether that's pop punk, whether that's video games, whether that's wrestling. We get into it around these parts. We're going to be expanding and all that stuff, especially as we get into the new year. Click all those buttons below the video and all that good jazz. Really do appreciate the support and appreciate all of you subscribers, watchers, and listeners over on our podcast feed. Y'all are the best. So let's get right into this thing. Loki season 2, baby. That's right. It's the finale. This has been a hell of a season, man. It's been pretty freaking awesome. I wouldn't say it was as good as season 1. Just going to get that out there right off the bat. But hey, man, overall, I really, really enjoyed the hell out of this season. But most importantly, for this episode in particular that we're focusing on, I absolutely loved this episode. This was a phenomenal finale, and I think might even be a series finale. So we're going to get into all that good jazz as we get to the recap portion. But just getting into my overall thoughts on this thing, it was a phenomenal finale. It tied in every single aspect of Loki's character arc throughout not just the show, but to me, the entire MCU as a whole, even though this one is technically a variant, right? I still feel like it really carries through with all the first 3 phases of Loki and really plays into that version of Loki and how that character's journey somewhat ended and how it kind of was reborn again in Loki season 1, and the way that it's tied into this show, most importantly to me, has been spot on overall with Loki as a character. And throughout this season too, that has been the strongest element for me, and that's one thing that's been consistent throughout season 2 here as well, and they carried that over well from season 1. Loki as a character is explored thoroughly well. Tom Hiddleston is playing this character better than ever, and his performance, especially in this episode, is through the fucking roof, man. Great stuff. And overall, just bringing even other characters' arcs to a really satisfying conclusion as well, like Mobius and his whole journey with really discovering who he was on the timeline. Agent B13 really accepting her role in the TVA and really wanting to step up and take care of people as she did as a doctor back on the actual sacred timeline or whatever. So the way that all the character dynamics and all the character development has really played in this season for me was very, very well done for most of the characters. Even OB, I thought, had a really satisfying conclusion and had a really awesome introduction in here. Ki Kwan absolutely killed it, and it's great to see him back in Hollywood doing things on a major scale again. Always thought he was a talented guy, even when he was a kid. Didn't really see much of his stuff, I think, in his early 20s or anything like that. But really awesome to see him back in this and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I think he was in something else that's fairly popular, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. But I think he was in something else. But he did a great job as Obi in this episode, and I thought it was a really satisfying conclusion for him. I did think that Sylvie could have been done a little bit better throughout the entire second season. I did think that they kind of shortchanged her in the mix of all the stuff going on with all these different storylines between Victor Timely, Ravonna Renslayer, Loki himself, Miss Minutes and her whole confrontation and all that, how this all plays into the overall MCU, carrying over the different plot points from each episode to how they're going to solve this problem with the Loom and how they had to introduce all these different Lokis in the previous season. I get there's a lot of stuff going on, but I felt like they were able to balance Sylvie's introduction as a character in the last season with all the other madness going on, and I get she was kind of the main focus and antagonist at the first half of the season, especially and primarily, but I just felt like they could have found a better way to integrate her more into the main storyline and just make her more interesting and find more cool shit to do with her, because I just felt like it was getting very one note in the first 3 to 4 episodes, and after that, it got a little bit better. Really awesome scene with her and Mobius at the end. Really, really heartfelt stuff. Great performance from what's her name? From Sophia DiMartino, I believe. And I thought she did a great job acting-wise the whole season, too. But really, in this last episode, you really got to see her shine, and it really played well. Even her interaction with Loki when she was like, all right, go on and kill me then. Do what you need to do. And he's like, oh, I know the sacrifice I need to make, because that's the way he was interpreting what He Who Remains was saying when he went back to that point at the finale of season 1 when he was doing his whole time slipping ability, which to me at first was a little jarring, I'm not gonna lie, but as time went on throughout the season and as I thought about it with the overall show in and of itself, it all really played played better for me and made a lot more sense. So right now, or as of right now, I definitely like how Loki has those abilities, and I think that was really a cool way to really give him the grand power that he always wanted, and getting him really actually burdened with glorious purpose, as the title says itself. And yeah, so just a phenomenal fucking episode, man. Just loved every second of it. The way it ends with Loki, it's just beautiful stuff, man. Some of the best stuff in the MCU in a long fucking time, because it's been a little bit of a rocky road. Definitely not dead in the water. There's definitely ways that they could definitely course correct in a sense and get things more consistent again, because we're not going to be at peak MCU forever, guys. And the end of Phase 3 with Infinity War and all the stuff going on with that, between like Black Panther and maybe to that, it's just like it was a lot of great stuff going on at the time, but it was a lot of buildup. It was a lot of things they had been working on for a while. So I always thought that we weren't going to necessarily have that level of hype, right? That level of craziness. But the first 2.5 phases, really the stuff building up to that, was still very well done for the most part, and was at least consistent mostly throughout the storytelling and how they connected all these different properties together while still making them their own, entertaining story in their own right, and really making it its own standalone story at the same time. So for people that don't give a shit about the overarching universe or aren't paying attention, can still enjoy it on the same level without feeling like they need to do homework, or sometimes actually needing to do the homework because the writers didn't even do it themselves and put it into certain things like Multiverse of Madness. Enjoy the hell out of the movie, but they didn't watch or get the scripts from WandaVision. They didn't play in any of that character development or storyline. That totally threw things into a little bit of a wacky way and made things a bit McClunky, if you will, with that movie. Really dig the movie, but I thought they could have did some better stuff with setting up Scarlet Witch as the villain. Paid off really well by the end. I did dig her performance and the whole way that the arc kind of finished out, but there was ways to develop it better and to flesh it out and still pay tribute to what had happened before without people needing to go back and watch it, because people were confused going into this thing. That is for sure. So that's one thing. But with this Loki season 2, the finale, amazing. Awesome stuff. But let's get into the recap portion of the show. And as we begin with the episode, Loki is going... He's using his time slipping ability, and he went back to the moment to where Victor Timely was going to volunteer to go out there with the suit and everything and try to fix and get the adapter thing into the loom or whatever. And now he's playing out that whole time loop, pretty much going around in circles, just going back to that moment, trying to make it quicker, because he asked OB, Loki himself, is like, hey, what could we do to make sure that Victor Timely doesn't get essentially disintegrated by the temporal radiation? Like, what can we do? And he's like, well, I guess we just needed more time. So Loki's like, fuck it, I'm gonna keep just trying to do this quicker and quicker and see, I'm gonna just do this quick. And if I can get him out there faster, maybe I can make it work. And he just keeps trying and trying and trying over and over again. And I like how they don't do it too much and beat you over the head with it, but enough to make it a little bit humorous and very entertaining. And they use that one type of music, I think, from like Mission Impossible or something like that, where I really dig that track. It's really cool. Like, has like this jazzy, like upbeat feel, but it has like this comedic element, underlying like kind of comedic feel to it at the same time, so it kind of makes it funny. But I loved how that was all playing out. And he's like, damn, dude, this is not working. I gotta go earlier. This is not working. I gotta do something. So he keeps jumping back earlier and earlier, and eventually ending up back into the season 1 finale with He Who Remains and Sylvie, because he starts to think, maybe if I can convince her not to kill He Who Remains, we won't get stuck into this mess, and the timeline can be saved because we can rule it together and just trap him or do something and get rid of him somehow without having to kill him. So that's his whole idea. So he keeps trying to stop Sylvie, but she's just way better at hand-to-hand combat than him, honestly. And it does make sense, because she had to go out there and survive through apocalypses this whole time, where Loki has always been more about his magical abilities and more about his wit, and his and his mischief, if you will, to get him out of the situation, more so than just his brute strength. That's always been the way that Loki as a character was played out. So with this version being a little more of a badass, if you will, being a little bit more out there in that way, he's not able to stop her, and she just keeps going back and essentially about to kill him or kills him, and he's like, shit. So he has to keep going back in a loop to try to stop her from doing that, Doctor Strange style. And that's not working either. So then he ends up stopping everything, or He Who Remains might have stopped everything, I can't remember. And then they start having their little tit for tat and their little back and forth and confrontation and everything like that. And Jonathan Majors really came through with this performance as He Who Remains. I loved him in the season 1 finale, but I think he plussed it in this one and just stepped it up just a slight bit and made it even better this go around. So I absolutely loved what he was doing as this character of He Who Remains. And I know he's in a little bit of hot water right now. I know there's some controversy and all that bullshit going on with certain crimes and stuff he's been accused of. I'm not sure if what's going on with the trial thing. I think it happened sometime late in October. So Marvel and us, the world at large, are waiting to hear what's going to go on with that, to see where the direction and the future of Kang the Conqueror as a character is. But for his singular performance, and just in that vein, not necessarily, I'm not giving him a pass on anything that's going on. I just don't know what's going on, and no one else really knows what the verdict is. So just going into the character here, I really dug the performance and liked what was going on. I liked how he was a little more subtle, but still a little bit more zany, a little bit more Willy Wonka-ish, but a little bit more toned down, a little bit more ominous this time around. And especially after Quantumania, where his performance was so strong and he seemed like such a presence, especially in the first 2 acts of the film, where you're just building up all this anticipation to see Kang in Quantumania. I was actually getting really excited. And then when you get to him, it's cool as hell. But by the end of the movie, the way they take him out so easily, it does lessen the impact and the blow in the way that he's not able to hold his own with the ants essentially taking him out. Spoiler alert. Giant fucking ants that I get are a smart society or whatever, but it's still kind of silly, man. Did Thanos get taken out by ants in the end of Endgame? No, he didn't. It's ridiculous. Excuse me. But man, totally ridiculous. So this played a lot better for me in this go around. And then he's like, well, you're going to have to make the tough call, buddy. You know what I'm saying? I know you're going to come for me. I know there's a number of me. I know you're willing to take up the challenge, but you're going to have to make the tough decision and take her out if you don't want her to take me out. You know that's the only way to do it. And he's kind of tricking him, I think, in a way, too. So then he's about to go, and then he jumps back in time to the moment where everyone started getting erased in episode 5, where he was getting everyone off the sacred timeline, and he has a confrontation, or a conversation, if you will, with Sylvie at that moment, where he's like, hey, I know this is going to sound weird, but I know what I need to do now. And she's like, I get it, dude. You need to kill me, right? And he's like, yeah, I don't really want to. But she's like, fuck it, dude. Just do what you got to do, man. If that's what you got to do, do it. Hit me. She was doing the whole fucking Heath Ledger thing, just more subtle. She was all, hit me. Hit me. No, but anyway, sorry. ADHD and shit. Not really. Here we go. So back to Loki here. So after that, Loki then figures out, well, maybe there's something else I can do. So he jumps back to the moment with Victor Timely and all that, and he figures out that, hey, if I go out there instead of Sylvie or anyone else or Victor Timely, and I sacrifice myself and burden myself with this glorious purpose, I can control the timeline and sacrifice myself out there. And Victor Timely never has to become Victor Timely, and I can rewrite everything and essentially be the protector of the multiverse and be kind of the overseer, like the watcher of time. You know what I'm saying? And that, to me, is such an awesome and brilliant concept, and really plays into the whole moniker of the TVA from season 1. For all time, always, man. Like it's all been there from the beginning, it seems like, in the way that it plays here. And Loki makes his way out there and grabs a hold of the branches and the timelines, and he himself becomes the loom in a certain sense, and he's able to take control of the timelines, and he now becomes the protector of time. And just that overall shot that I used for the thumbnail as well, I just love that shot of him sitting in that like tree of life, like timeline thing, and just the look of what's the word? The look of, like, not satisfaction, but the look of like relief in his face, and just him just fully taking it all in and realizing what he has to do, and now just kind of being at peace with it, to me, played so well, and was another aspect of Tom Hiddleston's performance that was so fucking brilliant in this episode. I absolutely love what he was doing, man. Always been one of my favorite characters and actors in the MCU, but he just keeps proving himself and just keeps getting better and better and outdoing himself. And how he does it, I don't fucking know, but it's fucking awesome. And essentially from there, we jump back to the TVA. Everything's set back to the way that it needs to be. There's no Victor Timely, no He Who Remains, no Kang the Conqueror overruling the TVA. It kind of seems like maybe it's Loki that's doing that now. I'm not quite sure. But Agent B13's in there talking to OB and them, and they got Miss Minutes back online, and she's like, hey, is she going to try to kill us again? And they're like, I don't know. Hopefully not. And I just love the way that OB just shrugs. He's like, I don't know. Like, I just love the way Q Kwan plays it and the way they wrote the character all together. It just comes together so good. I love it. So then we go from there to Mobius. He's over there at his desk. He's got the file talking about the variant of Kang from Quantumania, the bitch ass version over there. They got bitched out by the ants, and he's like, "Yeah, it looks like Earth 616 took care of him, so we don't have to worry about that one." And she's like, "All right, cool." So they're still kind of putting it out there that there are variants of Kang that could pop up and do some shit in the MCU, but they're not definitively making him the big bad at this point. It seems like they're kind of giving themselves a bit of an out in a way that where they can distance themselves enough away from the character in case they have to pivot away entirely, because I don't think they want to necessarily have to recast him if something does happen with Jonathan Majors and he gets convicted or whatever. I don't think they want to necessarily go that route. There have been rumors that I think are true, and I was kind of theorizing on anyway that he could potentially pop into this thing regardless of the Jonathan Majors controversy. But I think this is bringing it to a head much more so now, and I think it's going to change the trajectory of where Secret Wars goes. I think we're going to be getting away from Kang, and we're going to be dealing with motherfucking Doom, baby. MF Doom. No, I'm just fucking around. But I think we're going to be dealing with Doctor Doom for real as the big bad. And there have been rumors that the MCU at large, all the powers that be behind the scenes or whatever, have been discussing this possibility as a failsafe in case things do not work out with Jonathan Majors. I think it's definitely going to fucking happen, y'all. In one way or another. I think Doom's going to be involved in the story, and if Jonathan Majors can be involved, they're going to have both those characters at the forefront of it. And I think they're going to be battling for supremacy in the overarching thing. And I think Doom might come out the victor and go straight up to 2010 Secret Wars, where he was the guy taking over everything, not the Beyonders, not Kang the Conqueror. So I think there's a way they can definitely play that more current Secret Wars with elements of the older Secret Wars, with because the newer Secret Wars has the incursions and everything, which we definitely know is a concept in the MCU between this latest season of Loki and the overall tease at the end of Doctor Strange Quantum Mania, where sorry, I just totally mixed up two different fucking names. Holy shit. Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness is what I was trying to say, where they had the fucking post-credit scene with Clea, played by the great oh my god, man, Charlize Theron, and she pops up as Clea, the character a lot of us MCU Marvel comic fanatics have been wanting to see as a potential love interest and character in the Doctor Strange universe. She's there. She's cutting open portals like, hey, motherfucker, there's incursions going down. I need your help. He's got the whole freaking Tien third eye thing going on. You know what I mean? Been listening to some Absol. So he's like, fuck it. We're going to go. Let's go do this thing. And that's essentially potentially setting up where Doctor Strange 3 or where Avengers 5 is going to go. I don't fucking know. But it's all really cool stuff. But getting back to the thing at hand here. Sorry, had to go on a quick tangent there, but we're getting back to the thing here with the whole recap. The whole recap of the finale here. Then we jump over to Mobius having a conversation with B13, just kind of going over like the big sacrifice Loki made for them and everything, and him going back to where he comes from in the timeline, and he's leaving it all behind. He's telling her like, it's time for me to go. I think I'm going to go back to my life, and where I came from and everything. And he goes back to his point in the timeline, and they let him go. He resigns from the TVA, I guess, officially. Sylvie pops up to give him a little bit of comfort and to have one last goodbye with him and everything, and just let him know, like, hey, you're doing the right thing. I wish you all the best. We're going to miss our boy Loki, but you do your thing. I'll be around, and Loki's looking over you, and you go and have a great life. And he's just looking on. And also, too, I did not really highlight this enough throughout the season. Owen Wilson has been phenomenal throughout this entire series, but especially this second season. He has brought brand new levels to this character. It's been a long time since I've seen Owen Wilson with this level of acting between comedy and drama, and like not a Paul Thomas Anderson thing, like something more mainstream, something more out there. It's really great to see him putting on such a great performance in something like this. Always been a fan of Owen Wilson, never like my favorite actor, but I really enjoyed his stuff in the early 2000s and everything, and the mid 2000s and such. But I just feel like he's kind of gotten away from doing a lot of great projects other than maybe the PTA stuff. So good to see him up in here, just really leveling up the whole thing, and really love that whole moment in the way that it leaves off. And then we jump back over to our boy Loki, who's sitting there in the tree of timelines and everything, and just accepting everything that's going on. And, and that's where we leave the show. And that, to me, is just a perfect finale. And I hope they leave the show here, and this is the series finale. There's nowhere to go but down from here, man. There's no way to plus or to better what they just did. So I feel like they should leave it here and call it a day and end on a high note. You know what I'm saying? But this was a phenomenal fucking finale. The season overall, I wouldn't say was as good as the previous first season, but I still absolutely enjoyed it. And especially the last 3 episodes, I loved to death. So it was a great season overall, I guess you could say. It's hard for me to put an exact number on it, but I'm going to go ahead and give it 8.75, I guess. It was very close to just being that top tier, S tier again, but I would just give it that A++. Awesome season. A little bit of a rockier start, but I think if you're patient and stick with it from episodes 3 on, you're really going to get sucked in and not want to leave it alone. The introductions of OB as a character, awesome stuff. Ki-Hu Kwan, freaking chef's kiss. Mwah. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Owen Wilson as Mobius, amazing stuff. Can't wait to see what they do next after this, because I hope maybe Mobius might pop in Deadpool 3, but I hope this is it for Tom Hiddleston's Loki. I hope he gets to go on to something else, become Bond, do whatever he wants to do. But this was a phenomenal season overall, man. I got to say, it really ended on a strong note. I absolutely dug it. I want to hear from y'all, though. Let me know what you thought about the latest season in the comments section below. We always love getting into those discussions with y'all. Whether you've been loving or hating the MCU, it's always an open topic and conversation here. We just want to enjoy the fandom, talk about what we love the most, talk about and have a civil discussion. Y'all always seem to be on the same page with that, so we appreciate and love that. And so thank you for checking out this little review series. It's been a little bit all over the place release-wise, but we're going to be getting back on schedule here. We got some cool stuff coming up. Invincible, a lot of other cool stuff. I got some music content we're going to be working on, and I'm working on rounding out the movie content, maybe catching up on some stuff I missed throughout the year. You got the Marvels that just came out this weekend. I'm catching that tomorrow on my day off for this week. So you should be seeing a spoiler review for Captain Marvel by Monday morning, the latest. So, yeah, appreciate, love y'all. Catch you on the next one. Much love. Peace out.